Hey guys, how's everybody doing tonight? Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Happy weekend, happy Saturday. Let me turn my volume up a bit there. That might help a little bit. But welcome in. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful weekend. It is Saturday. What is today's date? The 11th of January. Already getting through January pretty quickly. Pretty quickly. It's actually really fast. Seems like it was just Christmas. Seems like I just put the Christmas stuff away. But welcome in. It's good to see everybody. I see Mary Beth's in here and Ladybug. It's good to see you guys. Hey, Minister of the Defense. How are you doing tonight? Hey, Mandy. Hey, Mr. Rosebud. Hey, Princess. I'm trying not to miss anybody. Hey, Rocky. Hey, Diane. And if you're watching on replay, you could always just fast forward through me, saying hi to people. Hey, Captain. How you doing tonight? Seems like I haven't seen some of you in a little while, so it's good to see you guys. Hey, Mystic. Hey, Cyber Warrior. It's good to see him. It's good to see everybody. Lenora. Hello, Lenora. Hey, Jenny. Hey, Lori. I always feel like I'm gonna miss people. It's the one eye. It gets me every time. I know I'm not gonna miss y'all, but I think I am, So then I just think I'm going to. So then I psych myself out. Hey, spilled beans. But I'm sure if I did forget you, you'd just be like, hey, what about me? Hey, Micro Kimmy. Hey, Therese. Okay, I'll get down towards the bottom. I know I don't want to get everyone all angry at me. Hey, Sailor. How is anybody doing anything fun this weekend? Hey, Jax Maine. Anything fun? Anything exciting? I'm going to go look at lights tomorrow because my light didn't come. Hey, Chantel. And that was very disappointing. I've been waiting on it since Christmas and it was through Amazon. It just never came. Hey, Sirius. I hope you're feeling better. Hey, True Crime Lullabies. Very cold. Very cold. I hate this weather. It doesn't do nothing for my bones, but it just, makes you not want to do anything. Hey, Deborah. Hey, Lord Mama. It sounds like the dogs are going to be by the door, so they may have to come in. We'll see. Is that a new movie coming out, Wolfman? I've never heard of it. Never heard of it. But welcome in. Welcome back in if you're coming back from, before. If you guys don't mind just taking a second, hitting the like button. If you're new to the channel, my name is Tanya or TitaniumBuilt. You can call me either or. I don't prefer one over the other. And we'll get into it. We'll get into what I found tonight, what I've been looking at. Also, let's see. I think there's no alsos. There's not an also. Also, if you like the case coverage, I hope you'll consider subscribing. How about that? Oh, a revamped version. I feel like I've seen Wolfman the movie. You're going to go see Lil Wayne next week? True Crime Lullabies? Now that sounds like fun. Man, you just give me a song and I will spit every word of it. I love me some Lil Wayne. Tell him I said, hey. Hold up a sign says, TitaniumBuilt said, hey. And she loves your music. You want to hear a funny story about Lil Wayne, actually? My nieces got me, hooked up onto Lil Wayne. My nieces. Yeah, they're younger than me, too. They're obviously, but way back in the day. Hey, Ludwig. Hey, women are scared. Not scared. Hello. Hey, PKC. Okay, well, now that everyone's coming in, I really am. I'm excited for you. I'm jealous and I'm excited. Get pictures. Tell him that we love him on the channel. And if we could get away with playing his music and not get copywritten, we would. Tell him not to copyright us over here. Say they can use my music. That's perfectly fine. So I wanted to go over kind of what we bounce off of what we talked about on our last live and then kind of go from there. I am going to blow my nose really quick though. So I'm going to mute you for just a moment. Okay, sorry about that. I swear every time the weather changes, my allergies, they don't like it. I live in what they call like a valley. So I guess we get a lot more like pollen and stuff around here. I don't know. And it could be the ginormous flowers I have in my living room right now. Kiwi Mate only says Big Wayne. That's the only one that he's going to listen to. Big Wayne. That's funny. So I wanted to go over this first article. We read over the documents that pertained to, what we're going to read about in here, and it's just going to kind of get us back on the track of what we were talking about before. If anybody has anything that they want to talk about in reference to this case, let me know. I don't mind going back and talking about things that we've talked about, 2 years ago. I mean, it's literally been 2 years since we started this case. I actually was looking through like little clips and videos and stuff. So maybe we'll play some of those tonight. Just like take us back to that, that time. But because we do have until August, the end of July, early August, as of right now, that's when Bryan Kohberger is supposed to be going on trial for, the 4 unalivings that he allegedly committed on November 13th, 2022 in Moscow, Idaho. His trial has been moved from Latah County down to Ada County, which is Boise, Idaho. A lot bigger venue, a lot bigger jail that he's in now. Wonder how that's going for him. Real curious to know. When he was in jail in Latah County, they had News Nation got somebody on the inside that had just got out of jail so that they could get a setup of what it would look like what it looked like inside the jail. We don't have that this time around because where's News Nation been? I don't know. They need to get somebody that just came out of Boise, but they haven't got them yet. So we can see. I'm a visual person, but it says here that lawyers for the Idaho college killing suspect, Bryan Kohberger, say prosecutors need to be sanctioned over failures to hand over required expert witness disclosures, putting Kohberger in a position where he will be greatly prejudged at trial. The bulk of the state's expert disclosures fail to include opinions and reports. We talked about this when we read the documents. I don't think that they need to have any of the opinions in it or their final reports. My personal opinion. I don't know about the final reports if they're supposed to be in there. They probably are. But opinions, someone's opinion. Why would you want someone's opinion? I wouldn't want anyone's opinion. I would want cold hard facts. If I was looking for something for my my client, but I guess we're working with an alibi of I was cruising around. So these inadequate disclosures greatly prejudice Mr. Kohberger, who is obligated to submit defense guilt phase expert disclosures by January 23rd, 2025. Kohberger's lawyers wrote in a December 27th filing. Now, I wonder if they were really late on giving him these or if they're just throwing this out there because we've read all the documents. His team is requesting that the judge exclude some of the state's expert witnesses from testifying at the trial as a sanction. So you want them to get in trouble and you want them to not be able to have their expert witnesses. Why? Why, Anne? Why don't you want these expert witnesses coming in to testify? Is it because one of these expert witnesses that is going to testify? He testified for Lori and Chad on the state's behalf. So against Lori and Chad, and now they're sitting pretty in Idaho prison. Well, she's in Arizona, but he's in Idaho. I think Arizona, yeah. And she's going to she is representing herself right now, actually, in trial. Maybe she's getting a little nervous, getting a little scared. It's a pretty good expert. Defense lawyers added that Kohberger 29 cannot fairly confront the evidence the state intends to bring against him when he does not know what it is. If you didn't do it, you could. Don't come at me, everybody, in the comment section. Kohberger is charged in the deaths of 4 University of Idaho students who were found stabbed to death in an off-campus house in November of 2022. The deaths of Madison Mogan, 21, Kaylee Chavez, 21, Xana Kernodle, 20, and Ethan Chapin, 20, shocked the small town of Moscow, Idaho. It shocked everybody. Initially, investigators had few leads and spent considerable time tracing the activities of the 4 students in the hours prior to their deaths. At the time, Kohberger was a graduate student at nearby Washington State University, where he was working towards a PhD in criminology. And look at this case. Just take this case for what it's worth. They're saying as of right now, there's no connection. Like that there's no connection to these two. There's like no, I'm sorry, there was no stalking, not a connection, no stalking of these victims, right? So there are cases that come up. They're very few and far between when it is a stranger on stranger, murder. Just it does happen. Or sometimes it's the kidnapping, or sometimes, it's just something else like that. But like robbery, burglary. But it looks like as of right now, they're saying that there was no stalking of any of the victims. Now they can't say there was no prior, what was it? Like, I'm trying to think of my words. They can't really say that there's no prior contact, because they say in the affidavits that there was 12 times that his phone pinged in the area of the King Road house. Now, I don't know if they know down to the exact spot. And they're just saying that, in the vicinity of the King Road house, but for our sake, but that's what it did say. So, it says initially investigators had few leads. Okay, I read that. At the time, Kohberger was a graduate student in nearby Washington State University. Kohberger's lawyers say prosecutors disclosed 25 experts, but only 5 of those include actual expert reports. They add that not a single DNA expert opinion or report has been produced. Kohberger continues wading through a sea of discovery. The need for rule-compliant expert disclosures is critical, to his ability to prepare for his defense at trial. Prosecutors hit back in their own motion, asking a judge to deny Kohberger's request because they have complied with court orders for expert witness disclosure. The state said they have a continuing duty to disclose under the law, which they will do, and that discovery disclosure is not a one-time event. That's true. I think they're on like their 21st. They put in for discovery like 21 different times that they want more discovery, but then they keep complaining that they have too much discovery to go through. There's too much evidence to go through. I don't know. I mean, I think they're looking for something in particular, but I think they want the prosecution to tell them what they're looking for. And they got to learn. I mean, if you're going to do all this like blabbing and stuff, you got to learn how to do the reading too. You're going to have to sit there and you have to look at the videos, and you're going to have to sit there and do all that stuff. Oh, can you imagine imagine that. Being a defense attorney. Okay. Imagine being a defense attorney. I never thought about this before, and I don't know why, but imagine the moment that for 100% certainty that your client is guilty as sin. Because I truly believe, I think that Anne thinks he might be innocent. She's fighting pretty hard for him. Or she might maybe think he was the looking out guy. Like he told her, I was just looking out. I want to tell you the truth. I want to come clean. I don't know. Because she's she's doing a good job for him, which, that's her job, right? It's her job to do a good job. But I'm just wondering, can you imagine though, your client's telling you, I'm not guilty. I'm not guilty. I was driving around. I'm not guilty. Please believe me. I don't know if that's what he's saying, but let's just say. And then you see him on all the different cameras, just going straight to the house and then tracing him back. Could you imagine that moment of absolute certainty? I don't know if I'd act the same way after that, right? That's why I would ask in the beginning. I've always said that. I'd ask in the beginning. I would ask, hey man, just shoot it to me straight. Did you do this or not? Because if you're guilty, right, and you're telling your lawyer you're not guilty, I don't know. I just feel like that's lack of communication. You need to just be truthful. If I did something, I tell my lawyer right away. I would. Hey, Shauna. Thanks, Ladybug. I bet you she's never going to personally ever ask him. Yeah, she'll probably never ask him if he ever did it. Yeah, she wants to make a name for herself. Yeah. I couldn't do it either. I couldn't defend. I couldn't be a defense attorney. I don't think I could be a defense attorney. Because you never know. I don't know. And more times than not, you know what I mean? They are guilty. So if you're sitting there screaming like, but I want to help the people. Well, you know, what, the 6%? Or, you know what I mean? It's the percentage. And then you drag that over a span of however many cases people have in their career. I mean, you know, it's a lot. So it says Kohberger's attorney stood firm in January, or in a January 7th response, saying that the state violated his constitutional right with the inadequate disclosures. This is a capital murder case, and compliance with the rules of discovery are not optional. It is impossible for him to confront unknown expert opinions with his own expert disclosures by January 23rd, 2025, the filing stated. A judge is yet to rule on the issue. Well, I'm pretty sure that he had all of this wrote out to where, like, if the state, if they didn't give you something in a timely manner, I'm sure they're going to get in trouble for that. I would think. We're going to see, though. This is a short little video. We'll watch this and see what they have to say about it.
The defense in the Idaho murder trial is trying to poke as many holes as it can in the state's case before it even gets to court.
Kohberger's attorneys are requesting the judge toss out key evidence and punish the prosecution for delays. Fox 13's AJ Janabel spoke with a legal expert about what comes next.
Ann Bremner is a local attorney and legal analyst with decades of experience. She tells me it's the defense attorney's job to do whatever they can to raise as many red flags as possible. But the question is, will any of these concerns make a difference?
A violation of Bryan Kohberger's Fourth Amendment rights, which protect us against unreasonable searches and seizures. That's why the accused murderer's defense attorney is asking for the judge to throw out a majority of the evidence in this case. Kohberger's attorney says police illegally obtained the alleged killer's DNA through genetic genealogy, as well as illegal evidence from his digital history, including his cell phone data, placing Kohberger at the scene of the murders a dozen times before the actual killings.
In this case, it was, of course, enormously important because that's how they identified Kohberger.
Legal analyst Ann Bremner tells me if the judge sides with the defense, the results will be pivotal.
It's like a house of cards. I mean, this fails, everything fails, and the case is gone.
Bremner tells me the odds of this actually happening are slim.
What we've seen in the courts so far is we haven't seen a successful challenge to the validity of that type of analysis or science.
Bremner says the defense may be fully aware their challenge of the evidence won't go far, but that's not the only reason an attorney.
Anne wants this to be the first case ever to where they change the rules for IGG and how you collect and how you process and how you do all the things with it. Well, sorry, Ann Taylor, but this ain't the case. You know what I mean? Maybe start making your arguments or maybe making a law or whatever you want to do, whatever you want to have done. Maybe start writing that stuff down now. And then maybe after this trial's over with, they can implement something. But you can't just say, oh, hold on, we don't have rules for this crap in the court system right now, so we're just going to have to toss that. No, we don't do that. We're not playing that. Octillions. There's like 28 zeros after that. It's incredible. I'm pretty sure they got the right person. If not, then he just left his knife sheath just hanging out on a bed where a girl ends up unalived. Man, the odds of that.
He raises these concerns.
I wonder what the odds of that are.
What they want to do is poke holes at everything in the case.
Bremner tells me even if evidence makes it into the trial, raising early doubts can plant a seed into a jury's mind or have lasting impacts after the verdict.
Every little thing and every big thing that you raise, you have to think about an appeal. Like, when we may lose this, but that's an appeal. You know, this was a good issue, and we may not win on that, but it's an appeal.
I think that Anne's saying a lot of that. Even his posture has gotten better. Have y'all noticed that? His posture's even better. When the dude walked in with the orange on, I knew before. I noticed before that he was like kind of like his back is like hunched. I'm not saying nothing bad about him because I got 3 little curves up in my back too, so I feel you, bro. But if you compared to now when he just walking, like on my thumbnail, that's him walking into court. Just very different. Very different. We haven't done a comparison of the Bryan Kohberger pictures in a while. We might have to do that next live. I have to pull them all up. I did that one time for you guys where we had him like every time he went into court, and like it was just, I mean, it was incredible just to watch the difference, just the differences in the way that he looks, the way that he was acting, the way that he just presented himself, you know. Like, look here, he just didn't know how to shave at first. He's got the nicks on the, you know, remember the nicks he had on his face and on his neck because they gave him that jail razor and they give it to you for 5 minutes. They come back and they collect it back from you. So, you know, he had to learn quick. Had to learn quick there on how to use that. But so Idaho prosecutors have revealed some of their expert witnesses for the Bryan Kohberger trial that's coming up. We'll read over this article and then we'll watch this video about how the DNA evidence, fingerprints were examined or are examined in Idaho. I thought it was pretty interesting little article. And thank you guys for being here. Not a case with 4 young kids, right, Catherine. I want to call you Kathleen. That was my grandmother's name was Kathleen. I don't know where I was getting that from. Hey, Blake. Hey, Shauna. But all I have is touch DNA, and that is very easy to do. It is easy to do, but where it was located is what it is telling to me. It being in those crevices, it wasn't like it was on the outside of the knife sheath. It was like on the inside. I don't know. I feel like he was playing with that. I feel like he was playing with it, like unloosening the snap a little bit. Because when you get like, I'm trying to think, like a new wallet, for instance, when you get a new wallet, you know how like it's hard to snap and unsnap a little bit. Like you have to kind of work at it, and then you know it gets like easier. Kind of like that is what I pictured. That's what I pictured anyway. By needle protagonist. I about did. Did you see all the people covering that? They're getting like 2,000 people in their lives. I was like, what? No, we live that real life here, not in Ohio, but my boyfriend's from LA, so we're good on watching. We've watched enough coverage of that. It's terrible news, but no, it's complete devastation. We're over here hanging with Bryan Kohbergers. Welcome in. Welcome in. I usually get thank you for not covering Sebastian. Which we need to do a thing where we read my comments one day, because I had somebody tell me that I should be on my knees praying or something like that the other day, and I was like, damn. It's like I didn't know it was that bad. She's a little angry. She was a lot angry. Prosecutors in the case against Bryan Kohberger, the man charged with, charged with killing 4 University of Idaho students, may call more than 24 expert witnesses in the host of subject areas, including DNA analysis, cell phone geolocation, and crime scene reconstruction to try to prove his guilt at trial. None of the state's experts detailed to the defense last month in a sealed court filing were previously disclosed to the public, but prosecutors identified a handful of their planned trial witnesses in a newly released legal brief, which published to an Idaho court's website Thursday. And I have that brief, and I thought that we didn't go through it, but we did. I'm pretty sure we did go through all of this. Yeah, when we went through our court document things, because I thought there was something new, but there wasn't. 2 FBI agents are among the 25 potential expert witnesses for the prosecution, the filing read. Special Agent Nick Balance, a member of the FBI Cellular Analysis Survey Team. So I looked them up. Where is he at? Okay, so Nick Balance is he's FBI cast agent, and he testified in Chad Daybell's trial. And he testified in Lori Daybell's trial. So we can always even go back and listen to the testimony from him and just see what he says. Like, what his expert analysis, what it is. How does he present it? Is it easy to understand? Is he easy to hear, understand, those things. We could always go back and look at those, because there are, I just put his name in, and then you can see there's a lot of different, part 1, FBI cast member.
All right, Counselor.
Laura's trial didn't have cameras though, so we won't be able to see him. We would just be able to look at him. And I think that Chad's did, right?
Thank you. The state would call.
Nope, Chad didn't have. I could have sworn I thought Chad had cameras. Chad didn't have cameras either? Man, it sucks. So everybody just, be really, really good. Oh, Susie Mac, I think about that all the time. Every time I touch something, and I touch everything all the time when I'm at Target. Like if I see something soft, my hands are going for it. Like if I think it's soft, I'm touching it. And I know what it is. It's because for those 2 months or 3 months that we were locked in and we weren't allowed to touch anything. And then for a year, it was frowned upon to touch anything, keep your hands to yourself, just look and buy. If you're going to buy it, then touch it. If you're not going to buy it, don't look at it. Don't get your germs on it. That's what I thought. I thought Chad's was televised. Okay, I thought it was. Well, yeah, they don't have it on here though. That's just weird. But we could always listen to that. Pretty interesting stuff, I bet. So let's see, where were we at? It says he will offer his opinion about where investigators alleged Kohberger's cell phone was at different times before and after the quadruple homicide in Moscow. I like that. I don't know him, but he obviously knows high profile cases and can work them. So I feel good in knowing that. And then there is Special Agent Tony Emil, a video identification expert, will testify about how he settled on the suspect's vehicle as a white Hyundai Elantra. You better have your answers ready, buddy, on why you claimed that it was a different year at first, because you're going to get hell for that. Kohberger owned a 2015 version of the sedan. He's really going to get questioned for that. If Anne's seen anybody on YouTube talk about it. Is he left-handed? That's a good question. I don't know why I feel like that's a good question, but it is. Actually, I knew that question. Hold on. We saw him write or something. I feel like we've seen him write before and he was left-handed, but I don't know. All of Diddy's evidence went up in smoke. Nah, I don't think so. They have all the evidence in New York. So that's where he's going on trial. What, the 1,000 things of baby lube? That's probably what caused the fire. Could that ignite a fire? I don't know. But now I'm thinking, now I'm wanting to know the answer. I bet you, they say, yeah, Lenora. Serious. That's a really good question. Why is Ann Taylor working so hard to get evidence excluded? Doesn't matter what evidence there is if you're truly innocent. Yeah. If you were truly innocent, you would have won. You would have done the preliminary. You'd have been wanting to get out of jail. Emma Ray. Hey, Astro. Is she missing? Getvaki. I know I'm saying her last name wrong. I bet it's pretty though, however you say it. Gavishi. Is it like sounds Italian? Hey Jeff. Hey Betsy. I think he signed something. I think he signed something in the courtroom too. I'm pretty sure I saw him doing something with his hands. But now I can't remember if it was right or left. I wonder if I could find it. He was right-handed? Okay. You're probably right. There's only 10% of the population that's left-handed. Oh, Vincent's old left-handed, though. 14-year-old missing since December 9th. Really? Let me go back up. Let me find my pen. I thought I had one like sitting on the desk, like put one on the desk, but I didn't. They're just right here. Okay. I've always liked the name Emma. I always thought that was a pretty name. I went to school with an Emma, and I used to be so jealous of her name. I thought it was so pretty. And everyone called me Tanya. Everyone got my name wrong, so that's why. Oh, that's sad. I'll look into it. I put some lines under there too. Like some, so I know like when I see it, I'll look it up. Hey, Norma. Taylor's only job is to keep BK from the DP. Yep. Yeah, I think that's what she's working hard. You're left-handed DM? Is Mike a lefty too? Who saw his lefty in here? That's craziness because it's only supposed to be 10% of the population. Now I'm beginning to think that we've been lied to. So we'll go back over here and we'll read a little bit more. I wanted to okay, right here. In addition, this is another person they'll be calling as an expert witness. Now, if I ever was a little like, okay, the state, you're a little nutty, it'd be right here because I guess she's an expert, but she's an expert, but I mean, did she talk at the wrong time? Absolutely. So it says, in addition, Latah County Coroner Kathy Mabbitt, remember her? In the elected office since 2006, also is listed as a possible expert witness. She issued the 4 victims' death certificates and oversaw the autopsies performed by the Spokane Medical Examiner's Office. Mabbitt has more than 40 years of experience as a registered nurse. That's a registered nurse. That does, okay. The prosecution wrote, and also works as a criminal defense attorney in Moscow. Okay, I don't know. Okay. Why? How does either of those things help us? Okay. Anyways, we should watch her. I have it pulled up. We should watch her choke on her words. That woman was crazy. Remember when she came out and she was spilling the beans, which we were loving it at the time. I'm not going to lie. That was the greatest interview, because we had no information about nobody about nothing. And then she came out. We'll go over here. We'll listen to this. And then we'll listen to her interview. And then we'll go back to that article. Just because Kathy Mabbitt is she's a sight to see if you never saw her. She basically, the cops were not saying much of anything. They were giving us, like, if you don't remember, they were giving us updates pretty frequently, I think, but not frequently enough. As for you know, how do I put this? They were coming out with them pretty frequently. I feel like the public should have been good with what they were doing, but I'm a creator and I want to be on here. I wanted to be on here every second of the day talking about this case. So I wanted them to do even more press conferences, so we knew even more stuff, you know, to talk about. So this, so then all of a sudden she comes out, you know, and she does this interview and she's like talking about stuff that almost is like maybe the officers wouldn't want people to know quite yet. They didn't even have a murder suspect. I mean, she was just blabbing it up. So we'll watch this and then we'll listen to her blab it up. It's only for 5 minutes, but she does a lot of damage in 5 minutes.
Who called 911? We're learning that the caller was not either of the two roommates who live in the house and apparently slept through the massacre. So the mystery is, who did make that 911 call to police, and how did that person make the gruesome discovery? I spoke with County Prosecutor Bill Thompson.
It's an essential part of the case. Whoever discovered the scene first, whoever initiated the contact with law enforcement is all part of understanding what occurred and the timeline of what occurred.
He told me the two.
So if the two roommates, I don't know, I just heard, okay, so they say the two roommates did not make the phone call. So Bill Thompson kind of like solidifies that. Like, yeah, they didn't. And it's whoever did it, it's important that we keep that person's name confidential.
Or discovered the scene first, whoever initiated the contact with law enforcement is all part of.
Like whoever discovered the scene first, whoever contacted law enforcement first. It's adding up to what we've heard about them not being able to get into Xana's bedroom, them having to call over Hunter, him coming in and, you know, getting in through the door, him seeing the carnage, and then him taking one of the girls' phones and calling 911.
Of understanding what occurred and the timeline of what occurred.
He told me the two roommates may have critical information.
The investigators are already talking to him and trying to get from them everything they can possibly remember about what they may have seen, what they may have heard, what their activities were, what they know about the activities of their housemates.
A new wrinkle, former LAPD detective Mark Furman, yes, that Mark Furman from the O.J. Simpson trial, now lives in Idaho and is claiming that victim Kaylee Gonsalves had a stalker.
I talked to one student, and I agree with this. It was twice removed from the person that said it, Kaylee.
Mark Furman, when I first heard this, I was mad at you for saying it. Now I'm mad at you again. Twice removed? What does twice removed mean? You were allowed in for a second time and you were removed a second time? Like, seriously, is that what twice removed means? Because you don't even get once removed. I mean, once you're removed, you're removed. But, I mean, Mark Furman, I think you're a little wrong on that. But, I mean, I'm just going to play it again.
Claiming that victim Kaylee Gonsalves had a stalker.
I talked to one student, and I agree with this. It was twice removed from the person that said it, Kaylee. But Kaylee 2 months ago complained about a stalker.
Only when I
This social media video shows all 5 women in the kitchen of the house they shared. We're learning that the killer, for some reason, bypassed the rooms where the 2 young survivors were sleeping.
Their story was they heard partying, they heard noise, but they just, as usual, said, you know, there's partying going on, and they locked the door.
Another mystery, where was Kaylee's dog the night of the killings? Why didn't his barking wake everyone up? Autopsies on the 4 students found each had multiple stab wounds. Some had defensive wounds, showing they fought with the attacker. And there was no sexual assault. County Coroner Kathy Mabbutt is describing the murders as personal.
Were they found in beds?
Yes, there were multiple stab wounds. The fatal ones were to the chest area or the upper body area.
The father of Xana Kernodle says her wounds show she fought for her life.
Bruises, maybe hurt by the knife or whatever. She's a tough kid. Whatever she wanted to do, she could do it.
And we're learning that another victim, Madison Mogan, had planned to spend Thanksgiving with the family of her boyfriend, Jake Schreiger. His mother says his world has been turned upside down. There's growing anger over the progress of the investigation in Moscow, Idaho. Madison Mogan's aunt says the lack of information, statements from left field, and lack of outreach to the public to gain information has made this even more painful. On a typical weeknight, Main Street in this small college town is bustling, but not tonight. So many people are fearful over these 4 brutal homicides that many students have left campus and returned home, leaving Moscow, Idaho, a virtual ghost town. I found University of Idaho student Grace Martin, who lives across the street from the murder scene, as she joined the exodus of students heading home.
Living next to the crime scene, it feels very dark. Like there's like kind of a spirit of death around a bit.
Abigail Spencer, news editor of the campus newspaper, says the lack of information is fueling fear.
They keep saying it's an isolated incident, but if we don't have an idea of who it is, nobody knows what to look out for. No one knows how to keep themselves and their friends and family safe.
Oops, I just clicked something. Oh, oops, I didn't mean to click that. Sorry. I was like, I clicked something. We'll go over to Kathy Mabbitt's interview and we'll listen to her. I haven't listened to this in forever and a day. This is the coroner for Latah County. She was there to oversee the autopsies that were done in Spokane, Washington on the 4 victims. And she was also there to determine their cause of death.
With a C, Mabbitt, M-A-B-B.
And it is kind of quiet, so I'll boost it with my audio booster. I'm just letting you guys know because it might get loud.
UTT.
And I'm going to ask you, how long have you been doing this for?
I've been doing it for 16 years, and I just got reelected for another 4.
That's as loud as I can get it.
Or I guess, when did you get the call on Sunday?
I got the call just a few minutes after noon that there were 4 homicides, but I didn't go to the scene because of law enforcement doing their investigation first. So I didn't actually go to the scene until about 5 or 5:30.
Can you walk us through, like, for our viewers, kind of the process between when police show?
Now, 5 or 5:30, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. Okay. So I know that they're like, she's not in charge of the autopsies or whatever, but don't you think that you would kind of, I mean, I know that you have to do investigation first, but wouldn't there be a way to do like that system a little bit faster to where the bodies weren't sitting there decomposing more to where you might be losing like valuable evidence by the bodies decomposing for 5 more hours? I mean, I don't know how much decomp can happen in 5 hours, but I'm sure that after a certain point, it could be fast. Like things could happen pretty quickly.
Show up and then you guys getting the bodies and doing your examinations.
Sure. Well, law enforcement goes through and looks for any evidence, takes videos and pictures of everything in there, and they'll start talking with people. So I don't really need to be there for that. They can't move the bodies.
See, they don't need to. Okay, no. Once they start talking to people, that's when she should be in there. Zoop. But I will say this. And I think it's because this case didn't really hit. Like, it happened on the 13th, but people didn't start covering it until like the 16th or something. And I think that's how they were able to get the bodies out of the house without anybody being there to see it. Or the camera crews that were out there, they were just that, they were let known that what was going to happen and to turn off their cameras or something, because we never did see that, which is good. I never want to see that. But it does make me wonder when they did that. when they took them out,
as they were until the coroner gets there. So those are really that's what my job is.
Like, and I wonder how long after the coroner's there, how long her job takes. She probably does temperature maybe of the body. I'm not sure exactly what the coroner does. I need to look that up. Now I'm curious. I wonder how long her tests take her to do, because she probably has to do them there on the scene as well, some of them.
The bodies.
As a coroner, do you guys do the autopsies and all that?
No, we some do if they're an actual medical examiner, but we have forensic pathologists and we contract with Spokane to do that.
So in your experience, what is it that you saw when you showed up?
Well, there was a lot of blood. It was a very sad scene for murdered college students.
You're running all 4 deaths on sites?
Yes.
Okay. And can you give us a manner of death? Yeah.
I believe that the press release was that they were from a sharp object. So
stabbings.
Yeah, I will know more after the autopsies tomorrow.
And do you believe this could be
I don't mean to laugh. I'm laughing because she spilled the beans before anybody had spilled anything.
No, there are 4 homicides.
And when it comes to doing the investigation post-autopsy, that falls on you, correct?
Yes, it's my job to determine the manner and mechanism of death.
And then I know with toxicology results.
Hold on. The manner and mechanism. So wouldn't that be the cause, the manner and the cause of death? She's confusing me now with her words.
There can often be, in Washington, a delay. So do you have any idea how long it could take, if those were relevant, to get any type of results back on that?
Well, the toxicology reports, right, they usually take 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes longer. But they might, I don't think they're going to be relevant in the actual manner or cause of death.
And do we know how long between the time of death and when police found them, approximately?
No, I don't know for sure.
Do we have any, could it have been hours? Could it have been a day? Was it maybe close? Is there any sort of time frame there?
Not that I'm aware of.
You know.
The scene was really difficult. I mean, is this something you've had to deal with before in Moscow?
Since I've been coroner, there have been at least 2 other multiple homicide scenes that I've been involved in.
Not like this, I bet.
Would you say this is probably the most gruesome?
Oh, it's hard to just single it out. It's the only one I've been to where there have been 4 people at one scene. There have been the other ones have had multiple scenes.
They hadn't had a murder in Moscow in 10 years prior to this?
And was anybody else injured, any non-deceased people?
Not that I'm aware of, but I wouldn't necessarily be notified either.
Okay. I didn't know if that was because the injuries could be similar, it matter to you.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Were the deceased all in close proximity to each other, or were they in different rooms?
I don't know that I can discuss that.
That was my next question too. So I think, yeah.
Will we be able to get a copy of your report once it's concluded? I'm sure it'll be.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, we never did.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you. Do you know what the time frame for that would be?
It just depends on how relevant the toxicology report is, but
Oh, okay.
So-
Okay. So it was the 4 to 6 weeks.
it could be. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And they will be testing the students on toxicology, I guess, as we were reading through, which in my opinion, it can, I mean, in my opinion, it could help. I mean, it could help, and I guess in the case in a way, but at the same time, I mean, do we really, does it really? What they were so, you know what I mean? Like, if they weren't that drunk, they could have fought back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's that going to prove? Like, it's not going to prove anything. So, but they are doing that. It says here, other still unnamed experts are expected to speak to the toxicology results for the 4 students the filing read. The victims were each out late into the evening with friends before the early morning knife attack in November 2022 at an off-campus home in Moscow that took all of their lives, according to publicly released videos and the probable cause affidavit for Kohberger's arrest. Kohberger is charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary in the fatal stabbings. The victims were Kaylee Gonzalez, 21, of Rathdrum, Madison Mogan, 21, of Coeur d'Alene, Xana Kernodle, 20, of Post Falls, and Ethan Chapin, 20, of Mount Vernon, Washington. Moscow Police Forensic Detective Lawrence Mallory filed the majority of the search warrants in the investigation and also is listed among the prosecution's likely witness. Who do I have here? Oh, this is that Tony Emil. I got that. He's going to be the photographic guy of the Federal Bureau of Investigations. But he's been working there for 14 years. It's a long time. No, I didn't look up this person, but we'll see if it comes up with anything. Oh, the U.S. Secret Service recognizes Moscow Police Department. Okay. For his achievement. Oh, look at this. This ain't looking good, Ann Taylor. These expert witnesses are looking a lot better than your expert witnesses. Remember, what was that lady's name? The FBI ended up having to go to her house. And poof, she was gone off the expert witness list. Still had Bricka Barlow, whatever her name is, Bricka Barlow, and whatever the other person was, but not her. She was gone. She gone. But over here it says, press release. The U.S. Secret Service formally recognized Moscow Police Department's Detective Lawrence Mallory for achievement in the field of digital forensics and cybercrime investigation this past Monday, April 1st, 2024. Congratulations. And he's the one that filed the majority of the search warrants. So all those people that are like, he wrote the search warrants wrong or he did something wrong. Well, I don't think he probably did, but okay. But not everybody can, be 100% all the time. So you never know. In the investigation and also listed among the prosecution's likely witnesses, he is one of up to 3 members of law enforcement who specialize in obtaining and analyzing digital evidence who may be asked to testify. An unnamed crime scene expert who specializes in reconstruction and bloodstain pattern analysis also will appear during the prosecution's portion of the trial, they disclosed. Oh, I hope it's somebody that's really well known, I really do. I want it to be I can't think of his name, but I can see him. I can picture him, but I can't think of his name. In addition, as many as 11 experts related to the Idaho State Police Crime Lab located in Mandarin could be called at trial by prosecutors, the filing read. Each may speak to specific lab reports, said the brief signed by Latah County Senior Deputy Prosecutor Ashley Jennings. And this is when nothing was getting done. The state's expert witness list filing is 400 pages. Wow, look at that. That's a good little chunk of book to read. According to a recent defense filing, all because they mad. They have to read all that. Most of the contents are, and they didn't, you didn't give them, that's what it is. You didn't give them a table of contents in the beginning. That's what they want. Most of the contents of the curriculum vitae are, or CVs for the named experts, but with a few exceptions. included limited details about their opinions anticipated at trial, the defense alleged. The prosecution disputes these claims. Kohberger's attorneys seek sanctions against the prosecution for not fulfilling the demand of the Idaho criminal rules for an expert witness disclosure. They asked that their January 23rd deadline be turned over to prosecutors, their expert witness list be pushed back. Rylan Nolan, who has worked at the ISP lab for more than 20 years, including as a manager the past decade, is the only one of the group of the state's forensic DNA experts identified by name in the prosecution's latest filing. Okay. She is expected to testify to secondary transfer or the process by which DNA can pass from a person to an object or another person, prosecutors wrote. Investigators found the leather sheath for a combat-style knife on the bed of one of the victims next to her body, according to the police. The ISP lab later discovered a single source of male DNA on the knife sheath's button snap, which police and prosecutors have said was later matched directly to Kohberger. The names and expertise areas of the remaining state witnesses for now remain a mystery for the public. On Wednesday, Ada County District Judge Stephen Hippler issued an order sealing the full list according to a public case summary. Darn you, Hippler. Come on, Hippler, just let's see something. Prosecutors and the defense have previously agreed to seal the state's expert witness list. Well, at least we got a few names. You know. Kohberger is next scheduled to appear in court before Hippler on January 23rd for a hearing over the defense efforts to suppress various pieces of evidence against him. Among the arguments his attorneys have made, they allege the police violated their client's rights against unreasonable searches and seizures protected by the Fourth Amendment, which the prosecution contests. She's mad because they kicked in the front door and the back door at the same time. Kohberger's capital murder, actually, she's just really mad because they went at 1 o'clock in the morning. She's mad about that. I mean, heaven forbid they go at, 8 o'clock in the morning when he's just ready and dressed and ready to run. I mean, he was ready to run, though. Kohberger's capital murder trial in Boise is set to start this upcoming summer. Jury selection is scheduled to begin on July 30th. If convicted of murder, Kohberger could be sentenced to death. Man, why does that have to be so far away from me? That's pretty far. Or I would love to go to that trial. Now that's the place I would actually sit out and I would park my butt in front of, like they did at Delphi, 4 in the morning. I'd be out there the whole time. Oh, did they say that he lived there? They might have just said that, just didn't say he didn't live there. But no, everyone knows that he didn't live there. A lot of people, everyone was putting he was just visiting his girlfriend Xana, and that's what a lot of people were doing. So, why does it say I have 2 windows open for you guys again? This happened last night. That's so weird. That's really weird. Okay, that's so weird. Okay. Oh, here's something about the forensic experts. Okay, so I was playing this earlier and it made me laugh because the forensic expert was Joseph Scott Morgan, and I was like, yes! Thought that was pretty funny. We'll go back over to where we were reading. I think we read everything. Yeah. Kohberger's capital murder trial is going to be in Boise upcoming summer. July 30th is when they're going to start jury selections. I wonder how long it'll actually take them for real to find a jury. If it'll happen pretty quick, if it'll take some time. I think they'll be able to find one pretty decently quick. By the time it's going to be almost another year from now. Yeah. This case is already dying down. Not dying down, but you know what I mean, compared to what it was like. Yes, Ministry of Defense. I agree. I agree about he went there first, upstairs first. because that's where the sheaf was. Thank you, Mandy. Oh yeah, the booming. I have a feeling this is going to be like freaking OJ Simpson. They're going to have like like the grub truck will probably be down there. If I own the grub truck as a businessman, I'd probably want to go down there. But as a person with the soul, I wouldn't. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people. Like, I mean, we had people saying that, like content creators saying that they were going to go there for the preliminary hearing and they were going to go sleep in a tent, like outside. You just pick a spot where you want to throw your tent. No, that's not how that works. But she was going to stay in a tent and she was going to, make food and hang out with the fraternity guys and drink with them. You'd be surprised. You wouldn't be surprised at who the creator is. But I mean, you might be. Let me exit out of a couple of these things because I feel like I have a lot of stuff up. Okay. So we'll watch this video here. And then we'll see where we're at. I've been watching these like older videos. I think that they're very interesting. So this one is from 2 years ago. I wanted to show you guys this just because it's just amazing what we think now back compared to then, or what we know now back compared to then. Let's see exactly the date on this. November 29th, 2022. Look, they're looking in the trash cans. They didn't look in the back trash though.
Let's get back to a story that we have been following very closely here on Live Now from Fox. It's been 2 weeks since 4 University of Idaho students were found stabbed to death in their rooms. While police and federal agents have said they are following up on hundreds of leads, no suspects have been named, and there are still so many questions. I do want to bring in Joseph Scott Morgan. He is a forensics professor at Jacksonville State University and does have a hit podcast. Thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, Joshua. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, first off, your thoughts on this case that so many people are paying so close attention to.
Well, I think the first term that comes to mind is complex, and just the sheer volume of physical evidence that's going to be found at the scene could be quite daunting for all of those involved. The biological evidence, specifically as it's related to blood evidence, and of course from that springs DNA, and so it will make matters very difficult to weed through. The trick is how well are you planned in advance for an event like this, and what resources do you have at your disposal? The rub is, however, when you're talking about a smaller jurisdiction, they're not used to handling a case of this magnitude. It's not a knock against them. That's the reality of it. It's rural America, and they don't deal with quadruple knife-related or sharp force injury-related homicides. Not many people do, actually. This is kind of an outlier statistically.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of the questions come into play, because you don't have that many quadruple homicides that are happening in Idaho, let alone in Moscow, Idaho, involving 4 university students that are murdered there. From a forensics perspective, what might make this case a little bit more difficult or different than other murder cases?
Well, one of the things, going back to this idea of biological evidence, is what we refer to as commingling of the sample, where, they've talked at length, and you've heard a variety of different things stated relative to the weapon of choice. Hunting knife, somebody used the term Rambo knife, military style knife. Either way, if it is the same weapon, just imagine, if you will, where you have 4 victims and the same weapon is being used over and over. The first victim that you have will kind of be the standalone, where you will not have DNA from the others. But if the same weapon is being utilized, and this is just the weapon, we're not talking about DNA that the perpetrator may have left behind or anything like that. You're moving from victim to victim to victim to victim. And when this happens, there's commingling of DNA. And so to try to unspool that and in the lab is difficult. And I just hope that nothing has been compromised at the scene. I don't have any reason to believe that it has. But just that alone makes this complex. Not to mention the fact this house has been identified on several occasions as a location where people gather. So you've got this big collective of people that kind of come in, they hang out. You know, let's face it, everybody in college, you know, might have had an off-campus location they went to and, you know, met with their friends and that sort of thing. So those
We all
individuals that have inhabited that space.
On campus, off campus, right beside the school, in the school. I'm just kidding. Not in the school. In the school? Not in the school. On the school property.
Whether it's in just kind of a superficial way or maybe a more intimate way, have left some essence of their self behind. When you talk about things like touch DNA, which you know comes about as a result of sloughing dead skin cells. We slough thousands of these things every day, and so you get a partial strand from that. The really rich DNA that you're looking for is going to come from blood evidence. And in my experience, you know, I worked for the coroner in New Orleans and for the ME in Atlanta for many, many years. And one of the things that happens every now and then with sharp force injuries, particularly where it's a frenzied event and they're talking about multiple stab wounds, is that the perpetrator will actually injure themselves, might not even be aware of it at the time because they're in such a heightened state. And if that happens, now you've got the perpetrator's DNA commingled in there as well.
And it does sound like there were.
Do you think that whoever did this, right, could have been wearing them gloves that, you know, don't cut through the glove? You only have to wear it on one hand. You know, the hand that you're using to stab, you know, because that's the hand that usually slips because of the red stuff on there. It gets slippery and sticky and all of that. And your hand will slip and you'll cut yourself normally like right here or, you know, somewhere else in your hand. But normally like right there, you'll cut, it'll slide. We know that there was no, I mean, we don't know. We don't know anything because they didn't tell us. But as far as we know, there's no, none of Bryan Kohberger's blood like outside of the crime scene up at that, you know, area where you can park or anywhere near around the house. I'm just curious. I forget what I was getting to with that. I don't know. I'm just gonna keep playing.
Or people coming in and out of there, not just in general, but
maybe
maybe
about the knife slipping. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that he did that. So maybe he was wearing like those kind of gloves. They used to make me wear those kind of gloves when I cut up fruit. When I used to work at Red Lobster back in the day, like I don't know, 15 years ago or something like that. But I would like, you know, I would like do the fruit in the morning. And when I would cut up the fruit, they just knew I would have taken a finger off. Yeah. Like one of them shark suits. Yeah. Like that. But like for your hand. Kevlar gloves. Yeah. He had a pair of those gloves from his fish filleting job. You think? He could have. But he wasn't very good at that. Do you think that could have been a reason why he used a knife in this killing? Like he wanted to prove, like, I can use a knife. You can't tell me I can't use a K-bar. I could use a knife. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know what killers say, but you never know.
Over the hours after the killings actually happened, could that have contaminated anything at the scene? I know that's kind of a general question that you necessarily can't speak to as far as this specific case, but overall, could that have tampered with anything?
Well, yeah. Anytime you introduce another person into this environment, they're bringing along with them their DNA. And just to wax kind of academic for a second, we have to understand, you know, kind of our godfather within forensics is a gentleman named Edmond Lecard. And he came up with something called his contact theory. And it basically states that every contact leaves a trace. Now, he came up with that over 100 years ago. It's pretty fascinating when you think about it nowadays. But he understood even at that point in time, before we had DNA technology, that every time an individual introduces himself into what we would consider to be a pristine scene, they're bringing something with them, even if it's the police officers. You know, you might have mud on your shoes. You might have some other trace evidence that's coming from your car, even maybe a fiber from the seat of your car or from your home that you introduce in there. So you've got kind of all of these issues that, you know, when you start to look at it from a mathematical perspective, it kind of builds out like that exponentially. And it's something that you have to factor into everything that you do. And that's what they're doing right now. It does not surprise me, Joshua, that it's taking them this long. I think that they're being very careful. They've got fantastic resources at their disposal with just the folks at the FBI lab, not to mention the people with the Idaho State Police as well.
Why do you think so many people across the country are paying such close attention to this case? It is high profile now. And I mean, there's articles released about it pretty much on an hourly basis. People are talking about it on social media a lot. Why might that be?
It's the stuff of nightmares. And I think
That's
that,
exactly what
you know,
it
when
is.
you begin to think that you're sending your child off to college, and then suddenly you have this, this mysterious perpetrator that comes through the door and wipes out, certainly 3 of the 6 people that are permanently domiciled there, three of the 5 that are permanently domiciled there. And then you've got this one young man who happened to be there as well. It is the stuff of nightmares. And that, I think, from my experience with true crime, that's one of the things that fascinates people, because this is not something that happens necessarily in a vacuum. It's something that, many people, particularly those that have kids, can identify with. And they're thinking, is my child safe wherever they are? And the fact that no one has been caught, it's, when you look at the pool of potential suspects, this is not a big metropolis, right? People know one another up there. And so you begin to think, do we know this individual that has perpetrated something that's so markedly horrific? If, I think we've heard little snips of this along the way relative to the police, and some of the other people there. I think even the prosecutor, as he's famously walking down the street, he's given this interview kind of over his shoulder, corner. They talked about the level of violence that was there. And, I got to be honest, I was kind of taken back by the fact that they had released that information, that we had that much information, but we do know that the scene is quite ghastly. So I think that kind of captures the imagination of the people out there that are following this case and cases that are similar to it, Joshua.
In your opinion, any mess ups here, any problems that investigators might have caused in this case? Because as you mentioned, they're not necessarily used to dealing with such a high profile case in Moscow, Idaho. Have you seen anything that stuck out to you?
There was something that was mentioned along the way that, kind of piqued my interest, I think, as a former medical legal death investigator, which means, you work for the medical examiner in the coroner. You're the eyes and the ears of the medical examiner out in the field. For me, what it was I think that the coroner was not allowed access to the body for some time. That's not an uncommon practice. Where the problem is this: one of the things that we try to do at scenes when it comes to the examination of remains is to begin the measurement of what's referred to as postmortem interval. So, and that's things like that everybody's heard of, like rigor mortis, okay? And then there's some other things like postmortem lividity, which is the settling of blood, and algor mortis, which is another term for the cooling that takes place after death. And we have these kind of measured scientific benchmarks that we look at, depending upon the environmental conditions that you're in. You have to examine the body within that. And so the further down the timeline you move, you lose that data. And one of the key things here, Joshua, is the fact that timeline is an issue, isn't it? They want to try to understand. So, we can judge things like the rigidity of human remain. To what degree has fixation began in the joints relative to rigor mortis and settling of blood. And so any delay in the time that the coroner may have had to get there and examine those elements could be problematic. Of course, we don't fully understand what type of trace evidence she would have encountered making her way to the body. So they have to do this balancing act. Is it worth it to have the evidence, the physical evidence, compromised because of the position of the body, to allow her to do this? Or is it better that we just allow her to get to it after we've collected everything that we possibly can? Again, back to Lacarde's, every contact leaves a trace. And so that can certainly be an issue as well.
All right, Joseph Scott Morgan, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Anything else that you want to make sure to mention before we let you go?
I think I plead with everybody to please be patient with these folks out there. They're doing everything that they can at this moment in time, and it's important that you just take a step back and understand they are under the gun. They're aware that they're under the gun. At least their managers are. I hope that that doesn't make it down to the rank and file officer or agent that's processing this, that they can kind of shut all of that out, really remain focused on what they have to do. They don't need any further outstanding distractions and that sort of thing, because the more their little world is compromised in this violence that has taken place, it's going to impede their ability to move this case forward and try to identify who did this and get them off the streets.
And before I let you go, do you think they do already have a suspect or suspects in mind and probably know who did this?
I have no way of knowing. I would hope that they would have gone through, and I would imagine they would have, say, for instance, like the CODIS database, locally, just to identify anybody that might be in that environment that might be identified as a predator. If they have that already ramped up, if they find an unknown DNA sample, they can plug that into the database and see if they come back with a hit. And not to mention, it's good old fashioned.
Well, we didn't really need to do that, did we? We decided to get his dad's DNA out of the garbage can because Bryan was too busy collecting his own water bottles in his car. That's where it appears that they were, because in the search warrant that says water bottles in car, and bagging his own trash. But we got his dad's DNA, which is second best, right? Second best. Then they went ahead and they got that direct match to old Kohberger's. So the trash was the best piece of evidence that they could have single-handedly got, because the DNA, in my opinion, is one of the best pieces of evidence that they have in this case. That and the telematics, geolocation, that's going to tell a whole lot too. That's going to tell a whole lot. I haven't went to school for criminal justice in a long time, but I think that the rules still are about the same. Yes, because of the gag order. As soon as it was like, I wish I knew exactly when the gag order came out. It might be under the files, but it was right after they dropped the probable cause, and then they were like, "Oh, bye, sorry, we're not giving you any more." And so after that, we didn't know, and they only put in the probable cause whatever they need. They just put a little bit in to get their warrant. Now I know it would be in here, non-dissemination order right here. 1-3, 3 days, 4 days after they told us, shut your mouth. No one's allowed to talk about it. Well, Bryan Kohberger didn't have any trash at his house. He took all the trash out before he left to go back to his parents. There was no evidence in the trash that we know of, but his DNA was in the trash, so that's even better. His dad's was. Well, why were you separating garbage into Ziploc baggies to begin with? You don't. You don't. You don't. People say it's because he's OCD. No, absolutely not. Absolutely no. I'm OCD and I would never be touching no trash with or without gloves. Even if it's my own damn trash. I'm not doing it. Where was he disposing of it? I'm wondering the same thing, Elser. Because I think he was keeping the water bottles in his car, but I'm sure that he was taking it all into one place. Maybe a car wash, somewhere like that, you know? So, but that's just me. They don't give all the evidential information now. Why would they need to link his trash to the murders when that would be dumb? Why would you link Pennsylvania trash to Idaho murders?